Committee will come back to order. We will now proceed with amendment log number 5501 by Representative Mace. For what purpose does the gentlewoman from South Carolina seek recognition?
Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment at the desk.
Clerk will please distribute the amendment. Without objection, the reading of the amendment is dispensed with. The chair now recognizes the gentlelady from South Carolina for the purpose of explaining her amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm offering this amendment because our service members deserve a Department of Defense which prioritizes mission readiness, not divisive ideology. Under the Biden administration, the DoD shifted its focus towards so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI practices. These initiatives are rooted in racism, identity politics, and social engineering. They inject race, gender, and other personal characteristics into processes which should be driven exclusively by merit, by competence, and by capability. DEI isn't about unity, it's about division. It's not about readiness, it's about re-education. Our warfighters were being force-fed identity politics and being indoctrinated by woke policy. They are being taught to hate each other and also be divided along racial lines, rather than united against an enemy. Proponents of DEI claim our Constitution is inherently racist. White warfighters are oppressors by default, and merit is a tool of marginalization and not being, quote, inclusive. Under Lloyd Austin, these policies rotted the soul of our military and atrophied our readiness and capabilities. DEI encourages service members to divide into racial grievance camps rather than view each other with, and also view each other with hostility and distrust. While we focus on imaginary evils, our adversaries are racing towards supplanting us. They're not wasting time and resources on DEI seminars or hiring consultants to lecture their soldiers about privilege. Communist China is not doing that. The Iranian regime is not doing that. Putin is not doing that. While they were building hypersonic weapons, we were building PowerPoint slides on microaggressions. They were modernizing their forces and working to outpace us on every front. Meanwhile, we were training our service members to obsess over race, gender, and pronouns instead of tactics, strategy, and firepower. My amendment would gut the DEI bureaucracy and prohibit it from ever taking root in the DoD ever again. No more DEI offices, no more DEI action plans, no more DEI training. The military's mission is to deter and defeat, not serve as a social experiment for woke ideology. Nothing in this amendment prohibits any American from serving. If you can meet the standard, you can wear the uniform. But the standard must be based on merit, not on identity politics, not on quotas. Rank and promotion must be earned, not awarded based on demographic checkboxes. It must not be based on what you look like. We are in a dangerous global environment. This amendment is about restoring sanity, restoring focus, and restoring discipline to the most lethal military on earth. The American people are tired of watching their taxpayer dollars wasted on woke nonsense. I urge my colleagues to support this amendment. Let's stop this insanity and get back to the mission. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Gentlelady yields back. Does any member, gentlelady from Washington, Ms. Strickland is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will repeat the thing that I have been saying every time I've responded to this. The most lethal fighting force in the world. I've heard this repeatedly before I got here, and I've heard it repeatedly while I've been here. As we look at what this attempts to do by completely eliminating offices of diversity, equity, inclusion, it actually ignores the fact that we are trying to recruit more people to come into the service. And let's talk about the demographics of the future. More than 40% of service members identify as minorities, and the most recruitable adults by 2027 will be people of color. For those not tracking, that is 2 years from now. The fact is that the military is an employer. When the economy is strong, the military has to compete for talent like every other employer. And telling young people they do not belong will only worsen that recruiting crisis. I come back to the definition of diversity, equity, and inclusion that my colleagues across the aisle are using. The implication is that if it's someone who's a DEI candidate, that they are not qualified, and they are being put there in that leadership position for different reasons. By that definition alone, as I repeated earlier, Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, is the ultimate DEI appointee. But as we talk about what the next generation wants, Generation Z represents the leading edge of the country's changing racial and ethnic makeup. A bare majority, 52%, are non-Hispanic white. This generation is projected to become majority non-white by 2026, according to Census Bureau projections. Why we are saying things and making people feel like they are not welcome makes no sense. And I'm going to come back to something too, especially regarding our military academies and people who want to serve our country. When you're a minority, you actually have to be twice as good to get half as much. And the idea that you are somehow unqualified or less qualified to be there makes no sense. In addition to that, we look at test scores and we look at tests that are taken, and at the same time, you need well-rounded people who know how to navigate the world in a diverse space to create strong fighting teams. We are telling service members that they don't care that minority service members face worse treatment in the military justice system, that Black and Hispanic service members were more likely than white counterparts to face criminal investigation in court-martial. We're saying that the 15 families in the Air Force that had to be relocated in the last 2 years because of racism or anti-LGBTQ harassment don't matter, and that my colleagues believe that they don't belong in the service. So let's be honest here. When I hear something like this, especially given my family's history, my father, an African-American man who served in a segregated military, President Truman desegregated it, I hear anti-Blackness loud and clear. There's a bizarre obsession, in fact, about racism as the first item that is always brought up when we're talking about DEI. We don't talk about the myriad of other things, like gender, like LGBTQ, like life experience. It always seems to be about race. And let's be honest here. When you all are talking about race, you're talking about Black people. So let's just call it out for what it is. When we look at the military and what we need to be strong and to stay strong, we will continue as Democrats to fight for DEI policies. Not because they give anyone preferential treatment, but because we are hiring the best and the brightest and the people who are qualified and want to serve. I yield back, Mr. Chair.
Gentlelady yields back. Chair now recognizes the gentleman from California, Mr. Cisneros.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As the former Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer at the Pentagon, I can confirm that everything my colleague from North Carolina stated is 100% completely false. We did not indoctrinate people. People were not promoted because of their color or their sex. That just did not happen. To me, diversity has always been about creating opportunity. Now, I had a colonel that worked for me. This is an individual who rose through the ranks as an enlisted man, had 2 great careers, I mean, all the way to E8 as an enlisted individual, and then decided to become an officer. And people encouraged him to go this route to become an officer. That's about creating an opportunity, seeing a leader that you have and knowing that he can do more. That's what diversity and inclusion is about, and that's what we promoted. We tried to recruit more individuals into the Pentagon so that it would represent the demographics of our country. But nobody was ever hired due to the fact that based solely on their color or their sex. You still have to perform. And as my colleague stated over here from Washington, more or less, you know, as a person of color or as a woman, you have to perform twice as good as, you know, your counterparts. Look, we have individuals in the military, women outperform their male counterparts in the junior ranks, but do not rise up to the more senior ranks. People of color, especially Latinos and Asians, in the officer ranks, as the promotions go up, their group becomes less and less and less. While it goes up for white officers. You know, 95% of our flag and general officer corps is still 95% white men. You know, these are things that we should be looking into as to find the reason why. Why aren't women staying in the military longer if they're outperforming their counterparts? Why is our senior officer ranks not representative of our nation as our junior enlisted ranks are? We need to create opportunity, and that's what diversity and inclusion is, and that's why we need to continue to support these programs, and that's why I don't support this amendment. Our military should be, it is lethal, and it's more lethal, and the Marine Corps even did a study that said diverse groups, diverse platoons perform better than when they're not diverse. So why would we not want to be more lethal and have a diverse team and make it more diverse that represents our nation, and for that reason, I cannot support this amendment, and I will be voting no, and I encourage my colleagues to do the same. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Does any other member seek recognition on the gentlelady from South Carolina's amendment? Chair would state that he supports the amendment. No further debate. The question occurs on the amendment offered by Ms. Mace. So those in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. No. The ayes have it, and the amendment's agreed to. No, recorded vote is not requested. A recorded vote is requested, and it will be postponed to later.